What's up, you lovely people? I hope you're keeping safe out there. I hope you are taking care. So in today's video, I'm letting you into a couple tips and tricks and rules that I use when first starting out in Instagram and beginning my photography and videography business, and everything that I believe will aid you in starting and doing the same thing that I'm doing at the moment. So without further ado, let's get straight into it and run the intro. So, you guys, top tip number one is create an engaging bio. Now this is something that I have picked up along the way. This wasn't something I did straight away. It was quite a basic bio that I gave on my Instagram profile. But since then I've developed it, I've changed it in a few different ways, and some of the ways I will tell you right now. Now I don't know if some of you do this, but I do it, rightly or wrongly. I tend to judge what kind of creator someone is by their bio to start off with. That's before I've seen any of their content and just what they're putting out in general. I do admittedly go and see what the person is posting and the content they're creating, but it does provide that first initial impression of the person that you are looking at on their Instagram profile. And for those of you that want to make that good first impression, this is something that is going to be absolutely key to starting your profile. So I'm sure most of you will know this, that it is absolutely crucial to make a good first impression if you are trying to come across as professional on social media outlets. So this is something that you really need to nail. Hence why creating a bio that isn't just engaging but also has a call to action in there as well is extremely important for you to do. So what I do in the first little bit of my bio is basically begin with some personal information. So my age, my name, where I'm based. I find that helps make the first initial connection. They obviously get an idea of who you are. So then I'll go on to say what my occupation is, whether that's videographer, photographer, or both, or a general creative. It depends on what you do, you can put that. And then I'll go on to say what sort of niche I am into. So for me, it's mainly adventure and travel, but I do others. But I put adventure and travel as my initial one, just so they can get an idea of what my content will mainly be about. In order to tell them a bit about my niche, I will go with my slogan, as it were, or mantra that I live by, which is adventure further and explore more. I think that pretty much is self-explanatory, and if you have something like that, by all means go ahead and put that, or you can literally just state what niche you are in or what you focus in on. So lastly, in the very last sentence of your bio, I would add a call to action, and by this point normally someone would have clicked the see more option in your bio, so they are already tapping away on the screen. For me, I have put subscribe to my YouTube channel with a arrow pointing downwards towards the link section that it provides you on Instagram. So this is a really easy call to action, but if you have a blog, a website, any sort of link that you want them to go see, state that in that last bit of your bio and then point them downwards with an emoji or something, and hopefully that will generate a lot more click-throughs to whatever link that you have provided. That helps your exposure in general. So those are my key tips to creating a engaging bio with a call to action. I hope that helps. That is tip number one. Moving on to tip number two, and this one is something that I'm still trying to nail. That is that consistency in your feed is absolutely key. Instagram loves this, your audience will love it, and it will benefit you in general. Let me explain how. So when I go through scrolling on my feed on Instagram, I tend to pick out the photographers that I see the most, purely based on the fact that I recognize their style, I recognize their niche, their editing, everything like that. That is how I recognize them, and that is because they are keeping it consistent and I know what I'm gonna get when going to that photographer's page. So someone who does this well, who a lot of you may know, is Carl Shakur. He has a very minimalist style, as well as the way he lays out his images in color coordination. So he will post an image that is mainly blue orientated and then orange orientated, and then carry that going all the way through his feed, and then sometimes he'll switch it up to just doing one solid color. So that'll be like all green tones for a couple months or something like that. And that consistency gets him the following and gets him the engagement that you see him getting. Another good profile for doing this is someone that I've mentioned in a previous video, and that is Sam East, otherwise known as Bearing East. He has a consistent tonal theme to his images, as well as the way he lays them out and frames them and the composition and everything like that. You know what you're going to get, and that's why you follow him. That's why you want to see more of his content, and that is because he's being consistent with every bit of content that he puts out. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of dedication to do, but once you pull it off, it is really worth it and it will benefit you massively. I mean, that has been the absolute bane of my life, starting the whole Instagram page and everything, is trying to keep consistent, and I stupidly went ahead and posted daily, and I haven't broken out of that now. But keeping that up and keeping it original, keeping it unique is very difficult, so I do appreciate that. But if you can, go ahead and do that, and you will see a big difference in the response that you get. So that is tip number 2, and that is consistency. So remember that one. Moving on to tip number 3, and that is content is absolute king. And that is when it comes to any platform, I would say, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, anything that you use that you are putting out professional content on, I would say it controls most of the reactions that you get. If you're not putting out that good quality content, as much as I hate to say it and as much as I hate to listen to someone saying that, because I know how difficult it can be to get that quality content, but if you're not putting that out, people will not respond to it. They won't engage with it. They won't understand why you're putting that out if it's not relatable to what you're about, if it's not consistent with the rest of your theme, with the rest of your feed. That is why content is massively essential. It really doesn't matter what marketing techniques that you have, what massive teams you have behind you. If you don't have the content there to back it up, the quality content, you're not going to get the response that you want, and you're not going to get that professional clientele, I would say. If you're putting out low-level content that obviously doesn't appeal that much to the higher end clients that you might be wanting to get, you're not going to get those clients, unfortunately. And I used to always hate hearing that, because I know when I first started that it took me a while to really find my feet with photography and videography. I wasn't producing the most amazing stuff you've ever seen, and I still don't to this day. I just try my best at it. And as long as you're doing that, I would say you're going in the right direction. Just keep in mind that that is something that is going to be the deciding factor when it comes to getting hired and getting the jobs that you want. So a good way of coming up with the content ideas is by looking at other people's profiles and other people's YouTubes, Instagrams, Twitter feeds, Facebooks, anything like that. But you have got to remember to stay original and stay unique to your own style. So it's okay taking inspiration from other people, but as long as you're not directly copying them, you're just gathering ideas for stuff that you want to create that people identify as you made that. That is great, and that is a great way to generate content and ideas for content. So it's all about being aware of the content that you're putting out and just being clever of how you generate that content. It takes a lot of trial and error, and I'm still trying to do it to this day. Not perfectly, but I'm still trying, and as long as you're doing that, you're definitely going in the right direction, and that is tip number 3 for you. So, tip number 4, and that is don't look at the bloody numbers, because that is something I do, and my God, am I just depressed half the time looking at the numbers, looking at my insights on YouTube or Instagram, and it gets you down. It does. You think you're not good enough. So I'm going to sound like a massive hypocritical knob saying this, but it is something that I try to live by, I try to abide by. There's been no truer words spoken about creating a Instagram videography or photography account. It can be the cause of why a lot of creators take a break or even quit the platform. It is so easy to get caught up in just refreshing and checking your numbers constantly and comparing your likes, comparing your reach, everything with everyone else. You get so caught up in it, and it really takes away from why you got involved in photography and videography in the first place. But it goes back to the case of just staying true to your content and true to who you are as a creator, and going back to why you got into it in the first place, and just creating that content for yourself, for the few people that do really appreciate what you put out. I think there was a quote or something that went like, you only need 1,000 true fans or something like that. I know that applies to big accounts and stuff like that, but I do feel like even with smaller accounts, even when you're first starting out, if you do have a few people that just regularly check for your work on the platform, that means a whole lot. And then as long as you're doing it for yourself and for the whole passion and the reason why you love doing what you do when it comes to video and photo, as long as you're doing that, you're doing great. you don't have to worry about these numbers, because it will be the end of your platform if you just focus on it too much. The insights are there so you can learn and so you can make your content a little bit more impactful, but they're not there to say whether you are the shittest content creator out there or whether you're the next Sam Calder. They're not there for that, or people do mistake them for that too much. And my advice to you would be to, as best you can, just ignore them. Just go ahead and frickin' ignore them. If you love what you do, and if it is that bit of escapism for you, for capturing that moment, making you feel that little bit of contentment inside just because it's you and your camera and you're creating, then that is the thought that you should be keeping at the front of your head when you're looking at that depression-inducing insights tab. Okay, so come off that, remember why you got into it, and just enjoy what you do, because I know exactly when I'm going into the spiral of looking at my insights. And I know that when I go back out there into the forests, down to the beach or anything like that with my camera, feel reconnected again with why I got into it. So that is tip number 4. I hope that helps. That's a little bit of a deeper one for you all, but it is a really important one. So 5th and final tip, that is make contact. Little did I know when starting this journey into social media mixed with photography, videography, content creating, that there would be this enormous yet quite helpfully niche down community out there. Whether you are a sports, fashion, documentary, short film, wildlife, anything, photographer, videographer, there is a massive community out there for all of you to connect in, as well as all of these niche down communities for that specific style, for that specific type of content that you're putting out. I've done it a lot within the last 12 months, and it has helped me just look at the platform in a whole nother light. When you really do look out there, my God, are there just some really down to earth, like-minded, helpful people out there that want to share ideas, that want to help you out, that ask for your advice, and they're just really nice people to connect with, because when you share this passion with someone else, it just makes you enjoy it a whole lot more. So it's definitely worth reaching out and making contact with people. So make contact, have a Zoom call, collaborate, and I'm absolutely sure you won't be disappointed with who is out there and what you'll be able to learn out there at the same time. So that is tip number 5, the final tip. I hope that has helped you today with just starting out in Instagram, or if you're already going, I hope that gives you a little bit of advice to keep going and to keep creating the awesome content that you do. I really hope you stick with it, and I hope you don't pay attention to those insights too much. And yeah, that is it for today's video. I really hope that I've helped. Let me know in the comments for anything that you want to see further in this sort of area of Instagram growth, my process and my experience with the whole platform. I'm happy to talk about how I've produced content for YouTube and how that's gone as well, because obviously that's not as successful as my Instagram, but it might be worth and handy for some of you to know. So that is it for today's video. I hope you all stay safe out there, adventure further, explore some more, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.